Hey guys, it's Nena, and today I'm going to talk about the books that I read in September. So please excuse the messy bookshelf in the background. I really wanted to film this because I didn't want to go another week without a video, but I don't have a lot of time, and you're going to see that guy's tail popping in and out. So I read 5 books in September, and the first one I finished was A Window Opens by Elisabeth Egan. This is about a woman who's struggling to find the right work-life balance. Due to a change in her family's financial situation, she starts a new job at a literary startup called Scroll, and it kind of sucks up all of her time. She doesn't have enough time for her husband and her kids and all of the things that she's trying to do. It's about struggling to do everything and not quite succeeding, and it talks about having it all. Is it possible? What does that even mean? So I did a full review on this one actually, and I'll link that video down below if you want to hear me talk about this one more. The next book I read last month was The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I'm sure I mispronounced that. So basically Max the book pusher, we call him, told me to read this book, and I was like, okay, it sounds good. In this book, there's a girl named Blue, and she comes from an interesting family, and they're interesting because they're all clairvoyant. But Blue actually isn't. One ability she does have is that she's able to strengthen other people's psychic powers if she's near. Every year, Blue participates in this ritual. She goes to what's called the Corpse Road, and there are spirits that walk by, and those spirits are people who are going to die in the next 12 months. Normally, Blue can't see any of these spirits because she's not clairvoyant herself, but this time she does see one, and finds out his name is Gansey. It turns out that Gansey is a student at Agliombi, which is a private school full of rich boys, spoiled boys, people Blue wants nothing to do with. Blue calls these snobby Agliombi students the Raven Boys. Their paths do start to cross, and she's drawn to them in a way that she can't quite explain, and of course, knowing what she knows about Gansey, she wants to know how he's gonna die. Another element is that Gansey and his friends are on a quest to find this long-lost king, and they've been on this search for years and years. I enjoyed this book. It has a lot of different things going on, like there's adventure and magic and a little bit of romance. I like when a gang of unlikely friends form, and that's what happens in this book. It's just fun to see them realize that they have more in common than they think. I also really enjoyed the setting of Henrietta. I don't know what it is about rural towns in Virginia, but it seems like the perfect backdrops for magical, mysterious occurrences, so I think the setting worked really well. And the writing did a good job of capturing that magical atmosphere. So I really enjoyed this, and I gave it 4 stars. Then I moved on to the next book in the series, The Dream Thieves. This book does pick up where the last one left off, but there's a shift in focus. Instead of focusing on the group of friends and their quest, there's much more focus on one particular character, and that's Ronan. And Ronan's the bad boy of the group. He's been through something horrific, and he lashes out at everyone, and he's very prickly and rough around the edges. I did like The Dream Thieves. I was just surprised because I assumed it would just continue on with the story, and I didn't expect that shift in perspective. So as I was reading, I was like, oh, what's Blue doing? What's Gansey doing? I wanted to hear much more about those characters and all of the characters interacting together, and it wasn't really like that in this book. That did leave me a little bit disappointed, and I gave this book 3 stars, but I do definitely want to continue this series, and I do think this one was good. It just wasn't entirely what I was expecting / wanting after reading the first one. Then I picked up Sorcerer to the Crown by Zen Cho, and this was one I'd heard about on Book Riot, and it sounded really awesome, and I was really excited to read it. It follows the story of Zacharias, who is the Sorcerer Royale in England, and the Sorcerer Royale is the highest level of sorcerer. It's the highest title you can achieve. Normally being the Sorcerer Royale, I keep saying Royale, it's royal. That was one thing. Every time I saw this, I wanted to say Sorcerer Royale. I don't know, that just seemed like correct to me, but it's Sorcerer Royal. And you think that being the Sorcerer Royal, you'd be well respected and be very powerful, and Zacharias is definitely powerful, but he is not well respected, and that is all because he is black. Because he is black, people want to bring him down. They don't really believe that he's earned the title, so Zacharias struggles with the way that society perceives him and treats him, and also He's got another problem, and that is that there's a lack of magic in England. And the magic flows from a place called Fairyland into England. He decides to go to the border of the two countries and investigate why England's magical levels are so low. And also, as a favor to the friend, on this trip, he's going to stop at a school for girls and give a little talk. In this society, women are not allowed to practice magic. They are considered too weak to do so, and it's also thought that if they did, they would just use their magic for frivolous little things like house cleaning or whatnot. So when Zacharias gets to the school, he discovers that these girls are being taught how to suppress their magic. Suppressing their magic is actually really harmful to these girls because it's going against their very nature. Zacharias is horrified by what these girls are being taught and suffering through, so he decides that he wants to reform the rules against females and practicing magic entirely. So this book has a lot of really great elements. First of all, I love that the main character is a black magician. Then there's also Prunella, who Zacharias meets at the girls' school, and she actually is the one who changes his mind about females and magic because he discovers that she's really talented and really powerful, but she doesn't even really know it because girls are taught to hide all of that. I like that the author explored the themes of race and identity and even class struggle a bit, and I liked the magical elements. However, I didn't love this book. I did like it, but I didn't love it. I guess I was expecting to like it a little bit more. I can't quite put my finger on it, but something kept me from fully falling in love with the story and the characters. Yeah, overall I like this one, but I didn't love it like I thought I was going to, so I would say it's a solid 3 stars. Finally, last but not least, I listened to the audiobook of You by Caroline Kepnes. This is one that Patty had recommended to me probably about a year ago, I think, and she'd listened to the audiobook and just loved it and was like, you have to pick up the audiobook if you do read this book. And I was like, okay, all right, I trust you. So recently it's been popping up on BookTube a lot, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give this one a go. I picked up the audiobook, and the audiobook is on point. I have to say that first of all. The narrator just captures the protagonist's voice and feelings and emotions and everything just 100% spot on. So I started this audiobook as I was walking to work, and I was like, oh my god, I was like a little bit embarrassed. I was like, I hope no one overhears, because the language is explicit and graphic at times. So the story is that there's a boy who meets a girl and they fall in love, except what really happens is that Beck, a girl in New York City, walks into the bookstore where Joe works, and he sees her and he's immediately interested. And he's like, I need to know more about this girl. He becomes obsessed. He starts stalking her. He goes online and finds her Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram and finds out everything he can about her. He goes to where she lives and watches her and basically manipulates things so that he can meet her and ask her out. So this is a story about a man and his obsession with a woman, and it is creepy. It is super duper creepy. One, because it makes you think about what you put out there on the internet. I feel like it's pretty normal for people our age to just kind of blast their entire life on social media. It's so easy for Joe to basically figure out her entire life and figure out the best ways to stalk her. 2, it's really uncomfortable being in Joe's head. He has these mood swings where one minute he's like, Beck loves me and everything is right in the world, and the next minute he's like, oh my gosh, she just talked to her ex-boyfriend, I hate her, I hate life, I can't stand this. And he's just very insecure in a way. It's crazy the way that he justifies his actions. He doesn't think there's anything wrong with them, really. He'll do anything to be with Beck, and no obstacle will stand in his way. He believes that they belong together, and he uses that as his excuse to do all sorts of terrible things. Yeah, this one was definitely an interesting experience. It was creepy, it was unsettling, and I think as far as making the reader feel a certain way, the author did a really good job of that. And the audiobook narrator did a really good job of that. But like I said, there is a lot of graphic and explicit language and content, and after a while it was just kind of like, okay, like we get it, we got it. Towards the end, I just wanted out of Joe's head. I was like, I don't want, you know, this guy is terrible. I don't want anything to do with him anymore. I go back and forth on this one. I think the audiobook definitely enhanced the experience for me because the narrator, I didn't feel like it was someone reading a book. I felt like it was Joe speaking and telling a story, which towards the end I just kind of wanted to be done with it. So I gave it 2 stars, I think, on Goodreads. Or it's like 2.5 stars. It's definitely interesting. It's definitely interesting, but it's certainly not for everyone. So those are all of the books that I read last month. Let me know if you've read any of the ones that I mentioned. For October, I'm currently reading Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay, which I'm so excited about. I've been wanting to read this one for over a year now, so finally picking it up. And I also want to read some classics and some spooky reads this month. So I haven't set a TBR or anything, but you know, those are the 2 themes I'm going with this month. Let me know what you read last month, what you're reading right now, or what you plan to read this month. If you want to talk to me elsewhere, I am on Instagram, Twitter, Goodreads. I will leave all of my links down below. I hope you guys are having a good day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!